If your goal doesn't push you to change your habits, then it's not a real goal. It's just a thought you keep repeating. That's the hard truth. Most people don't reach their goals because they never set them the right way. They write something down, feel good for a day or two, then slip right back into old patterns. Why? Because they don't build goals that fit real life. No structure, no pressure, no plan, just a wish on paper. If you're serious about changing your life, then your goals need to be more than ideas. They need to wake you up in the morning. They need to demand action. They need to be simple enough to follow, but strong enough to stretch you. You don't need another goal to impress people. You need a goal that changes the way you live your day. In this video, you're going to learn how to set goals that actually work. Goals you can track, goals you can stick to, and goals that make you proud when no one's clapping. If you've been stuck, distracted, or restarting over and over, it ends here. Because once you understand how real goals work, you won't go back to guessing. You'll move with clarity, with purpose, and with results. Number 1, make your goal bigger than your current habits. You know, one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is because their goals are too small. They say they want to change their lives. They say they want something better, but the truth is they build goals around their current habits. And when you do that, you don't grow. You just stay where you are with a different label. If your habits are lazy, if your habits are scattered, if your habits are filled with delays and excuses, and then you try to set a goal that fits inside that pattern, the goal won't challenge you. And if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. That's why I always say, make your goal bigger than your current habits. Not a little bigger, a lot bigger. You've got to set a goal that breaks you out of the old pattern. Because if you're serious about real progress, you've got to build a vision that requires new behavior. A goal that pulls something better out of you. A goal that forces you to be different, starting now, not someday. A goal like that makes you uncomfortable, and that's good, because that discomfort is not a punishment. It's your warning sign. It tells you, hey, what you're doing today is too small for where you say you want to go. That pressure is your friend. Most people run from it, but the people who grow, the people who change their lives, they lean into it. So ask yourself, what kind of habits do you have right now? Be honest. Do you wake up with purpose? Do you structure your day? Do you delay what's difficult? Do you skip the things that make you stronger because they don't feel good? Look at your current pattern. That's your starting point. Now ask a better question. What kind of person would your goal demand you to be? That version of you probably doesn't scroll endlessly. That version probably wakes up early. That version doesn't make excuses. That version does the hard thing even when it's not fun. So now you've got a gap, and that gap between your current habits and the habits required, that's where the real work begins. People want to avoid that gap. They don't like it. It makes them feel weak. It reminds them of how much they've ignored. But the ones who face that honestly, they're the ones who rise. They're the ones who shift their identity. And that's what it takes. You've got to build a goal that requires you to stop being casual. Casual habits give you casual results. You want change? Then your goal needs to make you uncomfortable every single day until your actions start matching your ambition. If it feels easy, you're not doing it right. Now here's the truth. Most people wait for motivation to catch up. They say, I'll change once I feel ready. I'll start when things calm down. I'll do it when I feel inspired. No, that's the wrong mindset. You don't wait for your feelings to change before you act. You act to change how you feel. You move first. You lead your emotions by taking action that fits the goal, not action that fits your habits. If your current habits tell you to sleep in, but your goal tells you to get up early, you listen to the goal. If your current habits tell you to avoid hard conversations, but your goal demands leadership, you speak up. You don't build goals to fit who you are. You build goals that shape who you're becoming. A powerful goal doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care about your excuses. It's a mirror. It shows you where you've been soft, where you've been passive, where you've been letting life happen to you, instead of showing up with force and clarity. And the longer you avoid that mirror, the longer you stay stuck in old patterns. You want your life to change. Then raise the bar. Set a goal that embarrasses your habits. Set a goal that makes your excuses look foolish. Set a goal so honest and clear that it exposes what's really going on in your routine. There's power in facing yourself. There's growth in admitting what's not working. There's transformation in setting a goal that doesn't just live on paper but lives in your actions. And when you build a goal like that, one that's bigger than your habits, You start living with intention. You stop coasting. You stop faking it. You stop pretending tomorrow will magically be better without real effort. And here's what happens. When you stick to it, when you show up and do what that goal demands, you start to respect yourself again. You build trust with yourself. You stop saying, "I'll try," and you start saying, "I will." That's the shift. That's when your life starts moving forward. You don't need perfect habits on day one. You just need to stop protecting the ones that keep you small. You need to stop giving your current routine so much control. Your goal is the standard now, and your behavior has to match that standard. There are no shortcuts. If your goal is small enough to fit inside your comfort zone, you'll never grow out of it. You'll keep repeating cycles. You'll keep starting over. You'll keep wondering why nothing changes. But the moment your goal becomes too big for your excuses to carry, you get serious. You stop negotiating with your laziness. You stop defending what's been holding you back. So what kind of goal are you going to set? One that keeps you where you are, or one that forces you to level up? The truth is, you already know the answer. You already know what you've been avoiding. You already know what needs to change. Stop waiting. Stop playing around with average. Make your goal bigger than your current habits, and then match your life to that goal. That's how change begins. That's how progress starts. And that's how you build a life you can be proud of. Number 2, use your mornings to move your goal forward fast. The way you use your mornings can either push your goals forward or keep you trapped in the same cycle. Most people never realize that the first hour of their day holds the key to their progress. When you wake up and go straight into distractions, your goals take a back seat. But if you wake up with clarity and direction, even 10 minutes of real action can put you ahead of most. You don't need more time. You need better use of the time you already have. And that starts the moment your feet touch the ground in the morning. You can't build a successful life while starting your day in chaos. Your morning must belong to your goals, not to your phone, not to your doubts, not to other people's demands. When you wake up, your mind is fresh. Your energy is unshaken. That's when you need to move. Your future doesn't wait for convenience. It moves toward the person who takes it seriously. One strong morning routine will build more momentum than a full day filled with distraction. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent, especially when no one is watching. The earlier you begin moving toward your goal, the less likely you are to get pulled off course. Life gets noisy fast. People call, problems show up, emotions swing. But in the morning, there's stillness. And in that stillness, there's a rare chance to get ahead. Not ahead of other people, just ahead of the version of you that keeps putting things off. When you start the day by working on what matters, you gain confidence. You remind yourself that your time is valuable. You stop drifting and start leading your life with purpose and direction. Discipline doesn't grow in the afternoon. It's built in the morning. That's when your decisions shape your day. That's when your priorities show themselves. If you say your goal matters, but you sleep in and delay it, then your actions tell the truth. You can't lie to yourself forever. Eventually, your results will show what you've really been doing. You don't need more inspiration. You need morning discipline. Show up before the world expects anything from you. That's how you build strength. That's how you prove to yourself that this time you're not backing down. There's no secret trick to success. It's just a matter of structure and repetition. The people who move fast toward their goals use their mornings with precision. They plan. They reflect. They act. They don't waste time wondering how they feel. They know what they need to do, and they do it. When your mornings are strong, the rest of the day has to catch up. You create momentum before most people are even awake. You take ownership of your time, and over time that habit becomes your foundation for progress in every part of your life. Stop treating your mornings like they're free. They're not. Every minute you waste in the morning is time you could have spent pushing forward. Every delay stacks up. It doesn't disappear. It collects in your results. Most people feel stuck because they keep starting their day in reaction. They check messages, they consume noise, then they rush. And in that rush, their goals become an afterthought. You don't change your life by accident. You change it by doing what matters before everything else shows up to distract you. Morning action isn't extra. It's essential. The quiet of the morning gives you space to think clearly. There's no pressure yet. No one's asking anything from you. That space is where your decisions should be made. That's when your goals should get your full attention. You don't have to do everything. Just one clear task that gets you closer. That could be planning your steps, working on a skill, finishing something you've been avoiding. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be done. And once you build that habit, your mind starts trusting you again. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You don't have to force yourself to love the process every day. You just need to respect it. You need to respect your time, respect your energy, respect your goal enough to show up for it when it matters most. When the day begins, you don't owe anyone else that time. It's yours. Use it to build, use it to reset, use it to remind yourself of what you're working toward. Every goal becomes real when it has time, attention, and effort. And morning is where those three things come together without resistance, without noise, without distraction. People often ask why they keep falling behind, why their goals feel so far away. It's not because they lack desire. It's because they lack structure. A goal without a plan is just a wish, and a plan without a strong start gets buried in the day's pressure. Your morning doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be focused. 1 hour with purpose is more valuable than 10 hours scattered. The more you train yourself to use your mornings for your goals, the less you'll have to rely on luck, motivation, or outside help. If you want to live with real progress, your mornings must become sacred. No more random starts, no more emotional decisions, just clear action. You don't get this time back. Every day you wake up is another chance to move your goal forward. You either take it seriously or you don't, and that choice adds up. You don't need more motivation videos. You don't need more talk. You need action. Start with your morning. Start with the first hour. And if you win that part of the day, you'll find the rest of your life rising with it. Number 3. Stop hoping and start tracking what you're doing daily. Wishing doesn't build anything. Hoping without a plan only creates more frustration. You can dream about success all day, but unless you're keeping track of what you're actually doing, nothing will change. Most people say they want results, but they never write down what they're doing. They guess, they assume, they go by feeling. But progress doesn't care about how you feel. It responds to what you measure. If you're not tracking your actions daily, you're not really working toward your goal. You're just going in circles. And the longer you avoid tracking, the further you drift from what you want. If you set a goal but don't track your behavior, you'll always be surprised when things don't work. You'll say, "I thought I was doing more." That's the trap. Your mind will play tricks on you. It will exaggerate what you did and minimize what you missed. But when you put it on paper, when you see your habits clearly, there's no confusion. You'll know how consistent you've been. You'll know where you've been weak. You'll know what needs to improve. That level of honesty changes how you work. You stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending you're putting in full effort. Real progress feels different when you can see it. It gives you confidence that's built on facts, not hype, not hope, not stories, just truth. If you're trying to lose weight, track your meals. If you're trying to grow a business, track your actions. If you're working on a personal goal, track your habits. Everything becomes clearer when it's written down. Clarity removes excuses. It removes guessing. It removes all the drama and emotion that comes from not knowing. Most people avoid tracking because it forces them to face themselves. But facing yourself is where the change begins. You don't need a perfect system to start. A notebook works, a chart on the wall, a checklist, anything simple that makes you responsible for your actions each day. Write it before the day starts and check it before it ends. That's how you stay on track. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on the record. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do what matters. And you can't know what matters if you're not keeping score. People who win in life measure things. People who stay stuck just hope things will somehow improve. Tracking also forces you to plan better. Once you see how much time you're wasting, once you notice how many days go by without action, you'll start to take your time more seriously. You'll start protecting your energy. You'll stop doing things that don't move the needle. You'll stop lying to yourself about being busy. Because now you'll have proof. Proof of what you're doing. Proof of what you're avoiding. And with that kind of proof, you can't keep making the same excuses. That's when you start becoming disciplined. That's when your habits start matching your goals. The habit of tracking builds self-awareness. You start noticing what works and what doesn't. You start learning how you operate. Some days you'll be sharp. Some days you'll fall short. But now you'll know. You'll stop guessing. And in time, you'll adjust your actions with precision. You won't just be busy, you'll be effective. You'll get more done in less time, because now you're aiming with purpose. You're not living randomly. You're not starting over every week. You're building consistency. And consistency is what produces results that last. Not just quick wins, but real transformation that sticks. No one's coming to fix your life for you. If you want a better result, take control of your daily effort. Don't wait for someone to check on you. Don't expect motivation to save you. Save yourself through discipline. Save yourself through routine. Save yourself by tracking your behavior so closely that there's no room left for confusion. You can either face the truth or avoid it, but you can't do both. And the longer you avoid the truth, the longer it takes to grow. Get serious. Start today. Write it down. Look at it. Adjust fast. Tracking makes you stronger mentally. It gives you something real to lean on when you're tired or discouraged. When your mind says you're not getting anywhere, you can go back and see what you've done. That builds confidence. That keeps you focused. That reminds you that effort is not wasted when it's done with purpose. Every checkmark, every page filled, every day accounted for, it all adds up. It may not feel exciting at first, but it's not supposed to feel exciting. It's supposed to feel solid. It's supposed to keep you grounded when emotions pull you off course. Discipline is not about how you feel. It's about what you follow. And when you follow a system that tracks your progress, you start to think differently. You stop needing outside praise. You stop needing to feel inspired. You start trusting yourself. That's what tracking builds. Trust. You trust your time. You trust your actions. And in time, you'll trust your results. That's when your confidence becomes unshakable. That's when you stop needing permission to grow. You're not hoping anymore. You're acting. You're reviewing. You're adjusting. You're improving. Every single day. Because you're keeping score. Hope has its place, but progress belongs to the ones who measure their movement. Hoping feels good, but action proves you're serious. Don't wait for life to reward your intention. Life rewards your execution. And execution gets better when you track it daily. So stop wondering. Stop guessing. Stop talking about what you might do. Track what you are doing. And do it every day. Because when you know what you've done, you know where you're going. That's the difference. That's how you set goals that actually work. And that's how you start building the life you really want. Number 4. Face the truth about why you've failed before. Most people don't reach their goals because they avoid the hardest part, facing themselves. They point at distractions, bad luck, or other people. But rarely sit down and ask, why didn't it work the last time? If you failed before, and you didn't stop to study that failure, you're likely to repeat it. That's not being unlucky. That's being unaware. Your patterns will keep showing up until you face them honestly. If you keep ignoring the truth about your past failures, your new goals will carry the same weight. You can't fix what you refuse to look at directly. You might think it was the wrong time. You might say life got busy, but often the real reasons are much deeper. Maybe you didn't commit fully. Maybe you were chasing a goal that didn't mean much to you. Maybe you started with excitement, but lacked the structure to continue. It's not always about working harder. Sometimes it's about being honest enough to say, I didn't give it my best. That kind of honesty hurts at first, but it frees you. Because once you see where things broke down, you can rebuild without repeating the same cracks. You don't need to judge yourself. You just need to observe yourself. What did you do when things got hard? Did you quit quickly? Did you get distracted easily? Did you wait for motivation that never came? The truth is, your past holds the answers, but only if you're willing to go back and study it. Most people skip that part because they don't want to feel like they've failed. But failure isn't final unless you refuse to learn from it. Avoiding that reflection might feel safe, but it's the very thing keeping you stuck. If you failed because you didn't follow through, own it. If you failed because you chose comfort over commitment, admit it. If you failed because you lacked planning, recognize it. You can't build a future by lying about the past. You can't set new goals while dragging old habits into them. That doesn't create growth. It creates repetition. Look closely at what went wrong, not to feel shame, but to build strength. There's power in understanding yourself. There's progress in facing what didn't work. That's where real development begins. Not in pretending it never happened. Facing the truth helps you separate who you were from who you want to be. You can't pretend to be disciplined while running from your past behavior. You can't act like a leader while hiding from your own habits. The more honest you are, the clearer your next move becomes. When you admit where you went wrong, you start building goals that match your real capacity, not the version you wish existed. That's how you create progress that lasts. You stop dreaming about potential, and you start working with reality. That shift changes everything. You also start noticing patterns you never saw before. Maybe you always quit around the same week. Maybe you always stop when the excitement wears off. Maybe you rely too much on external pressure. Whatever it is, tracking your behavior isn't enough. You also need to reflect. When you know your patterns, you can break them. You can prepare for them. You can build a system that catches you before you fall into old routines. Most people only look forward, but sometimes the smartest thing you can do is look back. Without excuses, without filters, just truth. It's not weakness to admit you've failed. It's weakness to keep pretending you didn't. Everyone fails at some point, but not everyone uses it. That's the difference. The successful don't avoid failure. They study it. They ask the tough questions. They write it down. They dig through the discomfort until they find the answer. That's not easy, but it's necessary. And once you go through that, you stop fearing failure. You stop hiding. You realize the truth was never the problem. It was the avoidance that held you back. And once that's gone, your next step becomes clear. People think setting new goals means starting fresh. But a clean start is only real when you've cleaned up what came before it. Otherwise, you're just recycling the same effort with a new date. You want your next goal to work, then face everything that made the last one fall apart. Write it down. Study it. Talk to yourself honestly. There's growth in that pain. There's direction in that discomfort. And once you've faced it, you'll notice something. Your confidence rises. Because now you're building with full awareness. You're not hoping. You're taking full responsibility. When you carry unresolved failure, it weighs down your future efforts. That weight makes you cautious. It makes you second guess. It makes you soft. But when you face your past clearly, that weight lifts. You don't hide anymore. You stand firm. You say, I know why I failed, and I know what I'm doing differently this time. That's a powerful place to stand. That's what separates people who keep restarting from people who finally finish. It's not about willpower. It's about clarity. And clarity comes when you stop avoiding what's uncomfortable and start dealing with it head on. The truth is always there, waiting to be faced. And the longer you avoid it, the longer your goals stay out of reach. You don't need a perfect plan. You need honest reflection. You need to ask yourself the real questions. What did I avoid last time? What excuse did I keep using? What fear did I let win? That's how you grow. That's how you start building goals that actually work. Not from a place of denial, but from a place of truth. And once you do that, your next step won't just be another try. It will be a real decision. Number 5. Set a clear deadline, or it will fade away. A goal without a deadline slowly turns into a wish. You think you're working on it, but days pass, weeks pass, and nothing happens. Why? Because there's no urgency. There's no end point pushing you to act. When something doesn't have a finish line, your brain doesn't treat it seriously. You move it to tomorrow, again and again, thinking there's still time. But time doesn't wait, and goals don't chase you. You have to chase them. If you don't give your goal a deadline, it fades into the background of your life and blends in with all the things you never finish. Deadlines create focus. They give your goal weight. They add structure to your actions. Without a deadline, you'll always do what's easiest. You'll let your emotions run the day instead of your plan. But when you have a set date, your choices change. You think twice before wasting time. You stop treating every day like it's unlimited. A real deadline changes your mindset from casual to committed. You stop trying to fit it in when you can and start scheduling it like it matters. That shift makes all the difference between progress and procrastination. The fear of deadlines is what holds many people back. They don't want the pressure. They don't want the accountability. But that pressure is what makes the goal real. It forces you to organize your time. It forces you to track your effort. Without it, you'll keep saying someday, and someday never shows up. Setting a deadline doesn't mean you have everything figured out. It just means you've drawn a line. And now your actions have to follow that line. No more floating, no more waiting, no more pretending that slow movement is the same as progress. You don't need a year to make real changes. You don't need the perfect setup. You just need a specific target and a clock that's ticking. That clock will make you uncomfortable, but it will also make you move, and that movement builds momentum. It's not about being aggressive or rushing everything. It's about creating real commitment. A goal with a deadline has a direction. It becomes something you think about when you wake up. It becomes something you check in with. You're not just dreaming anymore. You're measuring, adjusting, and pushing forward every single day. When you know the deadline, you reverse engineer the steps. You stop leaving things to chance. You start creating a system that matches the time you've set. That kind of discipline builds character. It teaches you to stay steady under pressure. It trains your mind to work with clarity instead of emotion. You won't always feel like doing the work, but with a deadline, you do it anyway. And that discipline spills over into other areas of life. You become more reliable. You start trusting yourself. You stop wasting time, because now every day has a purpose behind it. People often say, "I just want to take my time." But the truth is, most people who say that are hiding from the pressure of showing results. Taking your time becomes a cover for not doing anything. A deadline doesn't remove patience. It adds urgency. You still move wisely. You still think clearly, but you move. You stop sitting still hoping the situation will change on its own. A real deadline teaches you how to stay focused when life gets loud. It becomes a quiet reminder in your mind that time is moving and you should be too. Once you commit to a deadline, you become more selective with your energy. You stop wasting hours on things that don't match your goal. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop explaining your vision to people who aren't helping. Every decision starts running through the filter of, does this move me forward or not? That kind of clarity creates power. You no longer rely on willpower alone. The deadline drives you. You begin saying no to anything that slows you down. And in that process, your standards rise. You stop settling for almost and start demanding completion. Missing a deadline isn't failure, but avoiding one altogether is. You'll learn more from aiming and falling short than from never aiming at all. When the date is real, the feedback is real. You know exactly how much you did, what worked, what didn't, and how to adjust. Without a deadline, there's no feedback loop. There's just floating. You need that loop. You need the discomfort of accountability. You need the lessons that only come from stepping into structure. And when you start operating this way, people around you notice. You're not just another talker, you're becoming a finisher. Deadlines also create emotional clarity. When something matters to you, and you attach a date to it, you see how serious you really are. If you avoid the deadline, maybe the goal wasn't yours to begin with. Maybe it was for appearance. But when you embrace the deadline, you take ownership. You stop needing reminders. You don't need to be told what to do. You're pulled forward by the finish line. And that pull creates habits. Those habits shape your future. You're not guessing anymore. You're building. You're growing. You're showing up with intention and purpose every single day. If you want your goals to work, stop making them soft. Stop giving yourself a back door. Stop stretching the timeline so wide that you forget what you're even working toward. Make the goal clear. Make the deadline firm. Don't fear the pressure. Use it. That pressure will bring out a new level of focus. That pressure will keep you honest. That pressure will separate what you want from what you're just talking about. So write the date, own the timeline, feel the urgency. Because if you don't set a deadline, the goal will slowly disappear, and you'll wonder where the time went. Number 6. Break your big goal into small daily steps. A big goal can be exciting in the beginning, but overwhelming once reality kicks in. Most people dream big, but they never take time to turn that dream into a practical plan. That's why they feel stuck. They look at the goal as one huge mountain, instead of asking, what's one small thing I can do today? That shift matters, because until you break the big goal into clear daily steps, you'll always feel behind. You'll carry the weight of everything, instead of the focus of just one task. You don't climb a mountain in one leap. You move one step at a time. When your goal feels too big, your brain shuts down. It looks for distractions. It tells you to delay. It feeds you doubt. But when your goal is broken into daily steps, your mind relaxes. You're no longer trying to figure everything out at once. You just wake up, see what needs to be done today, and do it. That creates movement. And movement builds belief. You don't need to be fast. You need to be consistent. That consistency comes from structure. And structure comes from turning one big goal into small pieces that fit your real life. Your daily step doesn't need to impress anyone. It needs to build momentum. That could mean writing for 20 minutes, making one phone call, reading 5 pages, or tracking one part of your progress. Small doesn't mean weak. It means manageable. And manageable is what creates follow-through. When your steps are too big, you avoid them. When they're small and clear, you begin. You stop overthinking. You stop negotiating. You just act. And that action, repeated daily, moves you closer to the goal in a way that doesn't burn you out or break your spirit. Without daily steps, your goal stays in your head. It becomes a source of stress instead of a system for progress. That's what happens to most people. They hold their goals in their minds instead of putting them into motion. You need a clear list. You need to look at your day and say, this is what I'm doing for my goal today. Not next week, not after things calm down. Today. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, the goal will fade. But if you give it action daily, even a little, it will stay alive and moving forward. The secret to growth isn't in making huge moves. It's in doing small things over time that compound. Think about it. Every strong body was built one workout at a time. Every skill was sharpened by repeating one drill again and again. It's not dramatic, but it's effective. You don't need to change everything overnight. You need to build something real, one block at a time. And when you stack those small wins daily, your confidence grows. You begin to trust yourself. You stop needing motivation because the structure keeps you going. That's how real change happens. People give up on goals, not because they're lazy, but because they don't have a clear next step. They get overwhelmed. They don't know where to start, so they don't. But when you plan small steps ahead of time, you remove that barrier. You wake up with direction. You don't need to think, you just execute. That habit saves time. It saves mental energy, and it keeps you from drifting back into old routines. Daily action builds rhythm. And once you're in rhythm, progress becomes natural. You don't fight for it. You just keep showing up and stacking results. If your goal is vague, your steps will be unclear. So start by being specific. What exactly do you want? Once that's clear, ask what actions support it. Then shrink those actions into pieces you can do every day without fail. That doesn't mean you're moving slow. It means you're moving smart. Because a step taken daily is better than a big leap that never happens. The consistency of small action always beats the drama of short-term effort. You're not just trying to start strong. You're trying to finish well. And that takes small, steady work. Daily steps also help you manage failure. If something doesn't work today, you learn and adjust tomorrow. You're not crushed by the weight of everything. You're just refining one part. That mindset removes pressure. It keeps you moving. Without small steps, failure feels final. But with small steps, failure just becomes feedback. You stay light. You stay flexible. You're not attached to doing it perfectly. You're committed to doing it consistently. That alone changes your relationship with goals. You stop fearing them. You stop stalling. You get to work, one day at a time. Tracking your daily steps gives you proof of progress. You don't have to wonder if you're doing enough. You can see it. That builds momentum. It turns your goal from an idea into a daily habit. And when something becomes habit, it becomes identity. You're no longer someone trying to change. You're someone who shows up. You're someone who acts. That small shift becomes a huge part of who you are becoming. The more days you complete, the more your confidence grows. The more your confidence grows, the easier it gets to keep moving. Start today by asking what one step you can take. Not a list of 10, not a giant leap, just one meaningful action. Write it down, complete it, then do it again tomorrow. That's how you move the needle. That's how you keep the goal alive. You don't need pressure. You need repetition. One step after another, day after day. Over time, those steps build a path. That path becomes your progress. And that progress becomes the proof that you can actually do this. Not someday, not eventually, but one small focused step at a time. Number 7, take one hard action. Every goal becomes real. The moment you do something difficult for it, not the easy stuff, not the things you like doing, the hard ones, the uncomfortable ones, the ones you keep delaying because they make you nervous. That's where the growth is. That's where the gap is between who you are and who you want to be. Taking one hard action every day forces you to stop hiding behind busy work. It demands effort. It demands focus. And when you push through that resistance once a day, you start building something stronger than motivation. You build mental toughness and self-respect. The hard action isn't always the same. Some days it's having the conversation you've been avoiding. Some days it's doing the workout, even when you feel tired. Other days it's sitting down and working with deep focus when distractions are pulling at you. The hard action is whatever pushes your limit. You already know what it is most days. You just avoid it. But goals don't move unless you do what's hard. Growth doesn't happen unless you lean into discomfort. If it's always easy, it's not changing you. If it's challenging, it's worth doing. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. You just need to do one hard thing daily that stretches you. Over time, this teaches your brain that challenge is normal. You stop fearing effort. You stop looking for comfort. You get used to doing what matters, even when it's not convenient. And that consistency makes you powerful. It builds discipline quietly, without applause. No one has to see it. No one needs to clap. You'll know. You'll feel it. And that inner strength becomes your edge in a world that's always looking for shortcuts. Most people avoid difficulty because it reminds them of their limits. But the truth is, those limits don't shrink until you face them. The only way to expand your ability is to walk directly into what you avoid. One hard action each day is how you train for that. You don't have to do it all. You just have to do what's next, even if it feels heavy. You'll never be fully ready. You'll never feel like it's the perfect time. But you don't need perfect conditions to start. You need courage, and that courage grows when you act through discomfort. Taking on hard actions builds a kind of momentum you can't fake. It separates you from those who only talk about goals. Everyone has a plan in their mind, but very few follow through when it gets uncomfortable. If you do one hard thing daily, you're already ahead. Not because you're better, but because you're committed. You're not waiting to be in the mood. You're deciding to lead your actions, not follow your feelings. That's how consistency is built. That's how confidence is formed. By doing the hard thing, even if no one else would. Every hard action you complete becomes a deposit in your character. It's evidence that you do what's necessary, not just what's easy. That evidence builds your belief in yourself. You start to think differently. You begin to expect more from yourself. You begin to respect your own word. And that quiet confidence doesn't leave when life gets tough. It shows up when others fall apart, because you've trained it. You've earned it. You've proven to yourself again and again that you're willing to move when it's hard, not just when it's comfortable. There's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be a reason to put it off. But if you want your goals to work, you can't keep waiting for the perfect moment. You have to act, not once in a while, every day. That one hard thing you keep avoiding, that's the very thing that will unlock the next level of progress. Stop overthinking it. Stop planning around it. Do it. Whether it's a call, a workout, a decision, or a project, do what challenges you. That's how real results are built, through action that stretches you. Some days the hard thing will feel small, but still meaningful. Other days it'll take everything you've got. Both matter. Both count. The point is not the size. The point is the stretch. If it pulls you beyond where you were yesterday, it's worth it. That's what builds momentum. One hard action daily becomes a habit that pushes everything else forward. It trains your mind to stop running from effort. It reminds your body that you're in charge. It keeps your vision alive and your excuses quiet. And that kind of habit becomes a force you can rely on. If you only take action when it feels easy, you'll never reach anything important. But if you choose to do one thing every day that challenges your limits, everything begins to shift. You start moving different, thinking different, acting different. You become someone who doesn't avoid pressure, but leans into it. That shift transforms your mindset. It changes the way you carry yourself, and it makes your goals more than ideas. They become responsibilities. You stop treating growth like an option. You treat it like a standard. And the only way to meet that standard is through action, every single day. It's not enough to want something. Everyone wants something. The difference lies in the ones who do something hard for it every day. They don't wait. They don't stall. They don't negotiate. They act. They show up for their future by doing the uncomfortable thing in the present. That's how strong habits are formed. That's how serious people operate. So if you really want your goal to work, do one hard thing today, and again tomorrow, and again the day after that. Stack those days. Count those wins, because over time, those hard choices shape the person who actually gets the result. Number 8, make progress daily even when you feel nothing. The days when you feel nothing are the days that define your future. Everyone can work when they feel inspired. Everyone can move when emotions are high. But those days are rare. Most of life is filled with quiet mornings, slow moments, and normal routines. If you only act when you feel something, you'll barely move. The people who make progress are the ones who show up even when nothing inside them is pushing. They don't wait to be excited. They don't wait for permission. They move forward with steady hands, even when the fire inside feels dim or silent. Progress doesn't care about how you feel. It only responds to what you do. Feelings can lie. They come and go. They shift based on sleep, food, stress, and the weather. If you trust your feelings more than your discipline, you'll keep starting over. But if you learn to act without emotion, your habits become strong. That's how goals are achieved. Not through emotional highs, but through steady work on quiet days. The discipline to move forward without inspiration is rare. But once you learn it, you no longer depend on motivation to make your goals real. The process may feel slow, but it's still movement. One step done with tired energy is better than no step at all. You won't feel proud in the moment. You won't always feel accomplished right away. But when you look back, you'll see the days you didn't feel like it were the days that built you. Those are the ones that count. Those are the ones that separate the serious from the casual. And if you can train yourself to act without needing a rush of emotion, you're already ahead of most people who quit once the feelings fade. You don't need a perfect day to make progress. You don't need to be at your best to take a step. You just need to keep moving. That means writing when you don't feel creative, training when you don't feel strong, planning when you don't feel sharp. That effort done consistently builds a level of grit most people never develop. Your mind starts to understand that work is not negotiable, that showing up is part of your identity. And soon you stop overthinking. You stop questioning everything. You just work. You just move. You just keep going, even in silence. Real progress is quiet. It's invisible most days. There are no applause breaks. There's no instant celebration. That's why it's hard to stay focused without emotion. But when you keep showing up regardless of how you feel, you build something unshakable. You become someone who finishes what they start. That's a rare quality. It's not built through hype. It's built through repetition, through slow days, through doubt, through low energy, through resistance. And every time you choose to move forward anyway, you build self-respect. You build a foundation that doesn't need constant emotional fuel to stay standing. You'll never feel like it every day, and that's normal. But the work still needs to get done. That's the gap most people never cross. They do great for 3 days, then disappear for 10. But if you can learn to stay steady, even at 40% effort, you'll create more progress than someone who only works at 100% when they're inspired. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about choosing not to break the chain. One step, one page, one decision every single day, no matter the mood. That's how you build momentum that doesn't need hype. Some days you'll feel numb. Some days nothing will excite you. But your job is not to wait for passion. Your job is to keep the routine alive. You show up because your goals deserve it. You take the action because your future depends on it. And if you can hold the line on the low days, the high days will feel even more powerful. You'll appreciate them more, but you won't depend on them. That kind of strength makes you different. It makes you durable, and durable people finish. Not because it's easy, but because they keep going. What matters most is that you don't break your own pattern. Even the smallest action done today keeps the chain alive. It reminds you that you're still in control, that you're not giving up, that you're still moving. That kind of belief is built slowly, through repetition. One brick laid down every day, even on the dull days, becomes a wall of discipline. And that wall holds up your goal when everything else gets difficult. You won't have to talk yourself into it. It becomes who you are. A person who shows up, a person who moves anyway. You won't always see progress right away. And that's why people quit. They think it's not working because they don't feel anything. But progress is a slow build. It's invisible until it stacks up. And if you stop showing up every time the results seem slow, you'll never see what your effort was building. So keep showing up, keep making the effort, keep doing the work, even when your energy is low and your mind feels flat. Those quiet reps matter. They add up. And one day you'll look back and realize those were the days that shaped you. The hardest work is not physical. It's emotional. It's doing what's needed when your mind says, "What's the point?" And if you can move anyway, if you can ignore the voice that tells you to rest, to skip, to delay, you win. Not because it feels good, but because you proved you're not run by feelings. You're guided by principle. That principle says, move forward. Always, whether the day is loud or silent, easy or difficult, clear or uncertain. Move, that's how you set goals that work. Not with hype, not with hope, but with steady movement, even when you feel absolutely nothing. Number 9. Measure your effort, not just your final result. When you only measure the result, you forget the part that actually builds it. The effort. That's where the real work lives. Results take time. They depend on many things, but effort is within your control every single day. Most people get discouraged too early because they look at the outcome and ignore the input. But the outcome is just a reflection of the process. And if you're putting in the right effort daily, the results will follow. So instead of obsessing over the finish line, start measuring how many steps you're taking. That's what keeps you honest and focused. Effort is the one thing that's always under your control. You can't always control timing. You can't control how fast progress shows up, but you can control how much effort you bring. When you track effort, you stay grounded. You stop asking, why hasn't it happened yet? And you start asking, am I showing up the way I should? That kind of self-check keeps you consistent. It pulls you back to the present. You're not stuck in frustration. You're not distracted by the scoreboard. You're busy putting in the work that actually makes the result possible. Too many people quit right before things start working because they think it's not happening fast enough. They say it's not working, but what they really mean is, I haven't seen the result yet. If they looked at their effort, they'd see the truth. They might realize they've been inconsistent, or they've been working, but not deeply. Measuring effort removes the guesswork. It forces you to face what you've actually done, not what you hoped would happen. You stop relying on hope and start building through habits. That's how momentum builds. Not from chance, but from clear, tracked effort. Think about any area of life. The people who improve fastest are the ones who track what they do, not just what they achieve. They ask, what did I do today to move forward? That question matters, because when you only look at results, you either feel like a failure too early or you get comfortable too soon. But when you focus on effort, you stay in motion. You stay locked into what matters. You stop treating progress like a mystery and start treating it like math. Show up, put in effort, keep it steady. Review, adjust, repeat. Effort also shows you patterns. Maybe you work hard on Monday, but fade by Thursday. Maybe you avoid certain tasks because they're uncomfortable. If you're not measuring effort, you won't catch those habits. You'll keep running in circles, wondering why nothing's changing. But once you see your effort clearly, you can correct what's not working. You can double down where you're strong and fix what's weak. You no longer live in confusion. You build a system based on real data, your own behavior. And once you're honest about your behavior, your results become more predictable. Some people put in a lot of effort for a few days, then stop. Others show up a little each day without missing. Over time, the consistent ones win, not because they tried harder, but because they never stopped. And you don't know which one you are unless you track it. When you measure effort daily, you stop lying to yourself. You stop saying you're working hard when the numbers show you're not. And if you are working hard, the numbers will prove it. That proof gives you confidence. That proof reminds you to keep going. There's nothing wrong with aiming for results, but if that's all you care about, you'll be impatient. You'll be reactive. You'll rush things. But when you start valuing effort, you calm down. You start trusting the process. You realize that real growth happens when you keep showing up, even when nothing has arrived yet. You don't need the result today. You need the right effort today. And if you keep stacking that effort, the result becomes unavoidable. Not overnight, but over time. Consistency always beats intensity. But you only learn that if you're tracking what you actually do. Effort keeps your mind steady. When you feel discouraged, check your effort. When you feel stuck, review your effort. Most problems don't need more thinking. They need more action. And most action starts with being honest about what you've really done. That's what measuring effort teaches you. It removes the fog. It ends the guessing. You either did the work or you didn't. And once you face that clearly, you either feel proud or you realize what to fix. Both outcomes are useful. Both help you grow. Both move your goal forward faster than just staring at the finish line. Effort also builds discipline. The more you measure what you do, the less likely you are to skip what matters. You create structure. You build rhythm. You develop a sense of pride in showing up daily. That pride doesn't come from results. It comes from effort. You begin to see yourself as someone who does the work regardless of how they feel. That identity shift is what keeps you going. Long after motivation fades, you stop chasing highs and start stacking wins. Small, daily, disciplined wins. That's how real progress begins. And it all starts with tracking what you give. So if your goal still feels far away, stop staring at the distance. Start tracking your steps. Ask yourself daily, what did I give today? Not what you plan to do, not what you hope to feel. What did you actually do? That's the difference between talk and change. You're either putting in the effort or you're not. And if you are, trust that it will pay off. But don't wait for the result to feel accomplished. Let the effort itself become your proof. That's how you set goals that work, not through hype, but through daily, measurable action. Number 10. Act today like the deadline is tomorrow morning. The biggest trap in goal setting is acting like you have unlimited time. When there's no pressure, there's no urgency. And when there's no urgency, you drift. You put things off. You delay decisions. You convince yourself that you'll get serious later, but later keeps moving further away. That's why you need to treat today like the deadline is tomorrow morning. When your mind believes time is limited, your focus sharpens. You stop wasting energy on distractions. You stop negotiating with yourself. You move with purpose, not because you're rushed, but because you finally understand how valuable your time really is. There's something powerful that happens when you compress the timeline. You stop thinking endlessly. You stop over-planning. You just start doing. You handle what needs to be done now, not next week. That shift pushes you into action. It pulls you out of delay mode. You stop looking for the perfect moment and start asking, what's the most important thing I can do right now? That's how momentum is built. Not by waiting for motivation, but by stepping into urgency. When you act like tomorrow is the deadline, you work smarter, faster, and with greater intensity. Too many people lose years because they always believe they have more time. They say they'll fix their habits next month. They'll build discipline next year. They'll get serious when they feel ready. But time slips. Weeks turn into months, and the goal gets further away. Acting like the deadline is tomorrow keeps you honest. It forces you to wake up and move. You don't let your excuses settle in. You don't let laziness spread. You take ownership now. And when you make that shift, you stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. The truth is, most progress doesn't come from long-term plans. It comes from short bursts of focused effort. When the timeline is tight, you don't have space to overthink. You do the task. You take the call. You send the email. You handle the part you've been avoiding. Acting like the deadline is tomorrow puts your back against the wall in a good way. It brings clarity. It removes options. You realize quickly what matters and what doesn't. You realize that the small steps you've been putting off are actually the ones that would have moved you forward already. Pressure reveals priorities. When there's no pressure, you can lie to yourself. You can pretend that scrolling for an hour doesn't matter. You can say you'll start fresh next Monday. But when the deadline feels real, your choices become real. You cut out waste. You stop making soft decisions. You realize every hour counts. That awareness is what separates the serious from the casual. When you act like there's a deadline tomorrow, your life becomes tighter, cleaner, more effective. You move from hoping to producing. You stop relying on ideal conditions and start taking control. Deadlines expose your work ethic. If you knew your opportunity ended in 24 hours, what would you do differently today? Who would you call? What would you fix? What habit would you break immediately? That urgency isn't about panic. It's about clarity. You finally see what you've been avoiding. You realize how much time you've let slip. And more importantly, you realize that action is the only thing that fixes it. Acting today like the deadline is tomorrow puts you in motion. And that motion breaks hesitation. It breaks fear. It breaks your pattern of delay. You don't need the full plan before you start. You just need to stop treating time like it's infinite. It's not. Every day you wait is a step further from your goal. Acting now brings you back. You take the first step today, then the next. You build momentum by moving, not by thinking about moving. The pressure of a near deadline makes you take action without waiting to feel ready. It demands that you lead your life instead of reacting to it. That mindset turns vague ideas into clear decisions, and clear decisions into real progress. When you live with urgency, your standards rise. You don't accept weak effort. You don't let your goals sit idle. You make them a part of your routine. You put them on the schedule. You act like there's no time left to waste. That mindset builds focus. It helps you lock in when others drift. It keeps your energy where it belongs, on what matters. Even when you're tired, even when you're unsure. The urgency keeps you sharp. You start each day not with panic, but with purpose. Because you know waiting hasn't helped. But action might change everything. Living like the deadline is tomorrow also helps you appreciate what's in front of you. You realize time is your most valuable asset. You begin to use it with care. You stop saying yes to everything. You stop putting effort into things that don't build you. You become selective with your focus. You become disciplined with your time. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. You know what you want. You know what you need to do. And you stop treating those things like they can wait. That shift creates a new level of growth. Every morning is a fresh chance to act like time matters. You can treat it casually, or you can treat it like it counts. If your deadline was tomorrow, you'd get serious. You'd drop the excuses. You'd move with intensity. So why wait until the pressure is real? Create it now. Let it push you. Let it sharpen you. Let it remind you that progress doesn't come from thinking about it. It comes from doing something now. One action today. One strong decision now. Because acting like the deadline is tomorrow might finally make your goals real today. Now you know what it takes to set goals that actually work. No more vague ideas. No more waiting for the right time. Start today with clarity. Break your goal down. Track your effort. Do something hard. And keep showing up even when it's uncomfortable. Your goals won't work unless you do. But if you follow this path with discipline and honesty, your results will speak for themselves. This is your time to stop drifting and start building. Don't just write another goal, build one that pulls you forward every day. The change you want starts the moment you get serious.